Happy Mother's Day, everyone. We're going back to hell. Yes, you heard me right. May 12th through 14th, we are getting ourselves yet another Diablo 4 beta. And before I get a million comments about it, know your progress from the first beta does not transfer over to the second one here, just like your progress in this one's not going to transfer over to the final release. It's just the way it goes. But with all that out of the way, let's dive into a couple of the things that we got from this massive Diablo 4 live stream.
Hey folks, this is Riker.
The first thing they really addressed was the world tier difficulties in this game. The way this works is from level 1 to 50, you'll be playing on either veteran or apprentice difficulty. At level 50, we can unlock an even higher difficulty level by completing an end-cap dungeon. These dungeons appear to be shockingly difficult.
Yeah, so the first end-cap dungeon, alright. I was one of those guys who was saying veteran difficulty is too easy, crank it up. So end-cap dungeon, I think the first one, it's recommended level 50. I was level 45. Thought I was a hotshot, went in there. It was a humbling experience. That's how I discovered that, yeah, if you die enough times, you gotta go back to town to repair your gear. So hardcore players beware. I had to learn like boss mechanics, study, adjust my build, and eventually put my tail between my legs, go power up a bit more before trying it again, but then conquering it felt like a really great achievement.
I definitely loved hearing that there was actually some difficulty in these dungeons, because that was one of my main complaints with the beta. Everything felt easy, even on the veteran difficulty. Once we do finally beat the end cap dungeon, it unlocks quite a few different things for us. I loved hearing that we have these sacred and ancestral item drops that pop up on world tiers 3 and 4, but the thing that makes these really cool, you could actually have a level 50 item drop that has power that could take you to level 70. Imagine a level 70 item in Diablo 3 that has like a level 52 requirement, but it's actually legendary. And what's even better yet is because trading is allowed in this game, let's say you found one of these such items that didn't quite meet what you wanted to do with your current character. This adds so much fun to collecting items potentially for friends or to make some money. Besides the new item drops, there is also a new event that happens called a Helltide. And what is a Helltide, you ask?
Helltide is basically going to be the situation where you're running in through the world of Sanctuary. The sky turns red, blood begins to fall from the sky, new monsters begin to appear, everything is more challenging, new events are going to start showing up, and importantly, as you're killing creatures when you're within one of these Helltide areas, you're going to be getting what we call cinders. It's this new currency players are able to collect while they're specifically within these spaces.
And with those cinders that you're picking up, you're able to then go to marked chests around the map that will actually let you know they're an amulet or a ring chest or whatever it is. And you can use cinders to unlock the item hidden inside those chests. But you have to be careful running around, because while you're running around, if you die, you instantly lose half of the cinders you've collected. Oh, and by the way, these areas are timed. So if you run out of time and you haven't spent your cinders, or you don't have enough time to collect enough to unlock one of these unique, awesome items inside the chests, you're out of luck. That's it. So there's actually going to be a lot of planning beforehand, trying to figure out what you can and can't achieve or gamble to try and grab. There's complexity here, and I freaking love it. Speaking of love, another thing that we unlock at Nightmare difficulty is Nightmare Dungeons. Take it away, Joe.
Nightmare Dungeons are our key dungeon replayability system for the later part of the game, right? And you're going to get sigils, and Joe's going to talk a little bit about the sigils, but we're really excited for players to get to check out all of the cool ways that the dungeons can really be transformed by the Nightmare Dungeon system.
So the key thing to keep in mind here is if you played Diablo 3, think of the different torment difficulties and stuff like that. What are you going to be grinding time and time again? This is one of those examples. Nightmare Dungeons can have all sorts of different random things attached to them, whether that's reduced cooldowns for their attacks, increase attack speed, or damage increases to lightning, fire damage, and such like that. Riker specifically talked about these things called blood blisters, which expand, and when they get to a certain size, they end up exploding, doing massive AoE damage, which ended up one-shotting his character. So you can just imagine if you're fighting a pack of elites and something like that shows up, you have to make this decision. Do you continue fighting the elites? Do you go try and blow up the blood blister before it explodes? Or you just absolutely run away? Though hopefully you're not running away a lot, because you want to get to the end and complete these dungeons and whatever quests are required so that you can unlock glyphs to attach to your Paragon board.
So yeah, when the player reaches the end of a Nightmare Dungeon, they get to basically go ahead and take one of the glyphs they've been collecting over the course of their 50 plus experience, and basically slot it into here and choose to upgrade it and make that glyph even more powerful. These sockables will go into your Paragon board and end up being some of the single most powerful modifiers you can apply to your character, above legendary powers, and even in some cases, even above some unique powers.
Just listening to this, I can already feel that kind of Diablo-like rhythm that I'm going to get with the end game here. And I just love that there's going to be so much variety in these nightmare dungeons based on all the random things that can happen. And you're going to be doing this a lot because you want to upgrade those glyphs since they can be so unbelievably powerful, especially once you put them in
Paragon Boards.
Ah yes, this is going to be the class customization option that I think takes this game to another level compared to the previous Diablo games, and this is the one that I think a lot of us are very excited to try out. Now I know I've been a little quiet on this channel in regards to all the different updates that have been dropping recently, but I did kind of want to wait for this moment here. And I am so happy to see the variety of these boards. We all saw the normal nodes before, but now we got glimpses of the magic nodes, which seem like they're definitely going to be affecting multiple different skill sets depending on the character that we're using. We also saw rare nodes now, which seem incredibly powerful from what I'm seeing on screen. And I absolutely love that they have bonus attributes that you could potentially unlock if you meet requirements depending on what the node says. And of course the beauty of this is you can use the normal nodes to maybe get you closer to one of these bonus unlocks on your way to getting the rare node. And then of course there's the legendary nodes, which many of us will be building our characters around. And then don't forget, there are those glyph sockets that we can throw our glyphs in that we've unlocked through grinding nightmare dungeons. These sockets can help power up nodes around it and all have their own requirements as well. I'll be honest with you guys here. The sheer customization and ability to build a character the way that we want is simply staggering. Something that I also found staggering is their ability to share how they changed the dungeon map layouts in this game. You know, I kind of think going forward, this is the format that I want. And you know what? What they did makes a ton of sense. There's always going to be some sort of backtracking in Diablo games, especially with these dungeons and such. But the fact that now most of the key things that you need to do inside the dungeons can be found while you just casually stroll around makes sense. They also added that now in the dungeons that you go in when you have to kill like 50 of a mob, once you hit the last about 10 or so left, the enemies will start running towards you instead of you having to go and search for them. And let me tell you, early game with specific classes, that was brutal and a time sink. So I'm glad to see that change. And you know what? Speaking of classes, they've made some changes. As a Necromancer main, I was actually quite pleased to see that they're going to have our minions die more often, because I think that's an active skill you should be re-summoning more often. Though I won't lie, I was a little sad to see the corpse explosion has been nerfed a bit, but that was also to be expected. But far and away, the two best things that happened here was both the Barbarian and the Druid got massive buffs overall. If there was one thing all of us found out, especially on the Druid side with their memes, they were struggling in the beta, and it sounds like that's been fixed, and that is absolutely insane. So much so that Riker even stated that his least favorite class was the Druid during the beta, and he believes now it's his favorite class. But please pause the video if you want to look at a couple more of these, but let's move on. The live stream ended up wrapping up with quite a lengthy Q&A section, so I just wanted to go through a couple things that I picked up from that. For the PC players out there, they went out of their way to specifically talk about how much optimization they've been doing for all different sorts of PC hardware. They also mentioned that for the NVIDIA graphics cards, DLSS 3 will be live with this upcoming beta. And that lastly, ray tracing will be coming post-launch. They were specifically asked about how long it would take to complete a battle pass each season, and they would not actually commit to an exact number on this one. It's safe to assume that whether you're using a battle pass or not, there's going to be plenty of unlocks and things for you to do each season. And speaking of which, for those of you who are not going to be doing seasons, they did mention they'll be adding all the new items and balance patches and such like that for those of you who don't want to have to reset your character each time. Which I know is a minimal amount of us, but it's still good that they're actually doing that. Let's see here. They also talked about the Nightmare Dungeons and about the variety of how often they'll be rotating them. And so it sounds like once each season, they're going to take a certain amount and rotate from one set of dungeons to the next. So we never get too bored of them. I'm still a bit skeptical on this one, but we shall see. They also dove into the Fields of Hatred a bit, and for those of you who do not know what that is the PvP zones in this game. And they were blunt and honest, which I appreciated, and it was basically this. There's going to be plenty of times where groups of 4 can absolutely jump in and just destroy people who are playing solo. So, you've been warned. You know, come to think of it, has it been confirmed if there is PvP mode in hardcore mode? Can you imagine having a hardcore character and accidentally strolling into a PvP zone and then just getting destroyed by some other players and then losing your entire character? Oh, there's going to be some terrible stories there. And I may just have to make a hardcore character just to test that. And let's see, what else do we got? Oh, item drop farming. So it was confirmed that world bosses have a higher chance at dropping a specific material or two that we can use to help socket items in the game. But something else neat that I picked up on is specific monster types and specific monsters in different zones can drop different items. So for instance, maybe a set of skeletons for some reason is dropping a set of crossbows, or these goblins in another area are dropping like amulets, and you start picking up on stuff like that. And then they went on to elaborate that they actually have even more plans and ideas post-launch for stuff like this, but they're not wanting to talk about it yet. And yeah, that was pretty much it. You know, I have to say, for something as long as this was, I don't think there was a single negative thing that I got out of this. I'm beginning to worry that I'm just infinitely biased towards this game and there's almost nothing that they can do wrong. Though, you know, come to think of it, I'm not actually sure how I feel about there being another beta. It's releasing just a couple weeks before the actual release of the game. That being said, of course I'm going to play around with it and test out some of the new stuff, and I'll make another video for you guys about that. But besides that, we're getting really close to the launch here, and I hope all of you have an absolute blast playing this game. Let me know what kind of videos you would like to see from me, and for those of you who have stuck around this far, let me know your 3 favorite things that you learned from this live stream. What are you most excited about? And with that, we'll see you in the next one.